They said S.H.I.E.L.D. was humanity's shield, a force forged from trust, built on intelligence, upheld by men and women sworn to protect. But when the light finally hit the surface, it revealed something ancient and infected beneath. A web of secrets, too old to untangle, too deep to trace. And in the middle of that quiet chaos stood a soldier out of time, watching a world he once believed in crumble like dust in the wind. The Winter Soldier didn't rise with glory or grand purpose. He emerged from shadows, memories twisted and rewired, identities shattered by hands that once called him brother. He was the proof that loyalty can be manipulated, that history can be rewritten in silence. The sound of his metal arm was a reminder that even the past can be weaponized, that even love can be erased. Steve Rogers didn't just uncover a conspiracy, he uncovered a revelation. That freedom was conditional, that safety came at the cost of innocence, that the people giving orders were the same ones pulling strings from the beginning. He wasn't just fighting villains, he was fighting an entire ideology disguised as order. Every building he trusted turned hollow. Every mission filled with lies, every face possibly complicit. And when truth became too painful to bear, he did the only thing left, he tore it all down. Not out of vengeance, but because some systems cannot be saved. They must be replaced. The collapse of S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't a subplot, it was the axis of everything that followed. A fracture that split the Marvel Universe into doubt, division, and defiance. From Sokovia to Infinity War, every thread leads back to the moment the curtain was pulled. To the moment we all realized that control was never about peace, it was about power. In this video, we'll break down how Captain America, the Winter Soldier, quietly dismantled S.H.I.E.L.D., redefined trust, and reshaped the entire MCU. We'll explore the lies it exposed, the hope it reignited, and the tragic truth that sometimes the only way forward is to let it all fall apart. There was a moment in time when trust was an illusion, when suits and shields meant security, not surveillance, when S.H.I.E.L.D. claimed to stand for peace, but stood on lies instead. The Winter Soldier didn't just throw punches and crash helicarriers, it cracked the very foundation of belief that the world quietly depended on. Steve Rogers woke up in a world that moved too fast, spoke in riddles, and wore 1,000 masks. He saw allies smile while planning betrayal, watched heroes follow orders without asking why. He walked through glass buildings and steel secrets, unsure if any of it was still worth protecting. Nick Fury held secrets like weapons, and Steve knew that truth buried too deep could turn fatal. So he pulled the thread, one question at a time, until the whole thing unraveled. S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't just infiltrated, it was corrupted at its core. Not a few traitors in the shadows, but a sickness that grew from within. Hydra didn't storm the gates, they were invited in, seated at the table, handed the keys. And the scariest part was not how long they were hidden, but how no one even noticed. The institutions built to protect became the very tools of oppression. The film never shouted its message, it whispered. It didn't preach rebellion, it demonstrated discovery. Every scene peeled back another layer, until even the audience had to wonder what was real. There was no single villain, no easy monster to blame, just systems twisted in silence, and people too afraid to stop it. And as everything crumbled, a question remained in the quiet. If even S.H.I.E.L.D. could fall, what else had already been lost? What else had been built on promises never meant to be kept? Who could be trusted in a world full of actors, architects, and algorithms? The Winter Soldier didn't just reveal a threat, it revealed the truth. It wasn't just betrayal that stung, it was the normalization of it. Cameras in the skies, files in the dark, names on lists nobody saw. Project Insight wasn't fiction, it was a blueprint for domination. S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't just plan to monitor threats, they planned to preemptively erase them, before a crime was committed, before a choice was even made. Steve didn't just fight Hydra, he fought compliance. He fought the quiet, yes, the nodding heads, the obedient silence. He saw how good men could do terrible things with the right badge and a clean desk. And he realized that evil doesn't always snarl. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it says it's just following orders. Tony built machines to protect the world. S.H.I.E.L.D. built programs to control it. And in between all that logic, something human got lost. Fear became strategy. Sacrifice became standard. And those who questioned the system were labeled unstable or ungrateful. There was a time when Steve Rogers believed in institutions. When the uniform meant honor. When the stars on his shield reflected the stars in his heart. That time is gone now. And in its place is a silence that feels heavier than any war. Bucky Barnes wasn't just a soldier lost, he was a soul erased, used, programmed, broken, and released again. Not for justice, not for peace, but for control. Steve looked into his best friend's eyes and saw nothing looking back. Just orders, just targets, just the ghost of who he used to be. The tragedy wasn't just in Bucky's pain, it was in how easily he became a tool. One of many. Hydra didn't need monsters, they needed martyrs who forgot they were ever human. They took history and turned it into a weapon. Took love and turned it into leverage. Steve carried the guilt like a scar across time. He didn't just fail to save his friend. He failed to stop the world from becoming what it feared most. And in trying to rebuild trust, he shattered what little remained. The movie didn't end with triumph. It ended with questions, with loss, with two friends broken by time, truth, and the choices they never got to make. The Winter Soldier wasn't a villain, it was a wound the world forgot to heal. But in the middle of that collapse, there was something miraculous. A man with no superpower, no throne, no lightning, just conviction, just clarity, just Steve Rogers, holding the line against an invisible empire. He stood in the heart of corruption and said no. Not with bullets, not with politics, but with belief. Belief in freedom, not shaped by fear. In sacrifice, not driven by data. In the simple, dangerous power of standing alone. He gave the world a chance to choose again. Not by forcing it, but by showing the truth. By letting people decide what side they were on once the veil dropped. And many of them chose right. That moment when he broadcast S.H.I.E.L.D.'s files, when every secret went public, that wasn't recklessness, it was revolution. It was the first honest breath the MCU had taken in years, and it rippled across every film after. What began as a spy thriller ended as a spiritual reckoning, and it changed the path of every Avenger, every government, every soul who saw what trust had become. That kind of clarity is rare, and that kind of courage, even rarer. In destruction, there was rebirth. In the ashes of S.H.I.E.L.D., new voices emerged. People who no longer blindly followed. People who questioned. People who fought, not just with fists, but with principles. Sam Wilson, the Falcon, didn't just join the fight, he inherited the dream. Not the flag, not the costume, but the responsibility of asking the hard questions. He didn't serve blindly, he served deliberately. That mattered. The ripple effect was undeniable. Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, all of them built on the fracture that began here. A fracture that made the Avengers more human, more flawed, more real. And because of that, more relatable. Not all systems can be saved. Not all institutions deserve repair. But people can learn, they can evolve. They can rebuild something better, brick by honest brick. The Winter Soldier didn't destroy the world, it exposed it. And in that exposure, gave birth to a better one. A world with scars, yes, but also with vision, with choice, with voices that would never again be silenced. But even in that glimmer of hope, there remains a shadow. A lingering reminder that systems built on fear do not die quietly. They wait, they adapt, they rebrand. Hydra was defeated, but its ideology never left. It sank deeper. It whispered through algorithms, through politics, through promises disguised as protection. It didn't need soldiers anymore, just silence. And Steve, the man out of time, became the man who changed it. But even he had to walk away eventually. To rest, to escape the endless weight of watching the same mistakes repeat. Because even the strongest shield can only endure so much. The Winter Soldier changed the MCU, but it also changed us. It asked us to see beyond the spectacle, to question the narratives we're fed, to see that villains aren't always obvious, and heroes aren't always right. In the end, this film wasn't about Hydra or helicarriers, or even Bucky. It was about what happens when we let trust rot, when we give up freedom for comfort, and what it takes to reclaim it, piece by piece. One choice at a time, one truth at a time, one voice at a time.